My name's John. I'm a drummer. That's what I do for a living. I play and teach drums, play with a band called Shorty Long and the Jersey Horns, ShortyLongRocks.com. And I own a small music studio in Beechwood, New Jersey, Beechwood Music, with my bass player. Being that my dad was a minister, we moved around every 5 or 10 years. So until I was 6, we lived in Western Pennsylvania, in upstate New York for 8 years. And then, but then when I moved to New Jersey, that was kind of permanent. We stayed at that one church for 15 years, I guess. And I don't know, they were there for a while after I moved out. So but I've just been in New Jersey since then. So I don't know. As a kid, it was kind of neat. Lived in Western Pennsylvania, where my name would be John Hawes. So I picked up different dialects. Upstate New York's a little bit different than New Jersey, so got kind of a weird accent. People tell me. I don't know. That's about it. It was kind of neat seeing different places, but until I was 14, it was all very rural areas. We're a small town, so it was kind of the same thing. In upstate New York, there's nothing to do except ride snowmobiles and dirt bikes and go play in the creek. So did a lot of that. Had wet feet for years. It was kind of cool, but that's where I met my wife in first grade Sunday school. So it's because it was a small town, you know, classes were small. You'd know everybody in your whole grade. Whereas when I moved to New Jersey, I had, I think, something like 600 people in my graduating class. So, you know, don't know very many of them. But there, you know, as a kid, Pam and I were in Sunday school together from 1st to 8th grade until I moved. You know, church youth group, had some classes together in school, of course. But, you know, it's that kind of thing. The small town was, everybody knew everybody, you know. And then moved to Hamilton Square outside Trenton. Were very different, very suburban, you know. But that was kind of a culture shock too. It felt like a city in a lot of ways, you know. But it was cool that everything's there, you know. So when we were told we were moving to New Jersey and there was a mall within 15 minutes, that was just the most amazing thing ever. Because when I was a kid, we had to drive at first from the town we were in New York to Scranton, Pennsylvania to go to a mall. It's a 2-hour drive to go to a mall the size of Ocean County Mall, not a big mall. It was for nothing. Then, probably a year or two before we moved to New Jersey, they opened one in Binghamton. That was only an hour away. So it was a weird thing, just up in the mountains, and there's nothing there but snow and colored leaves and lots of water. So that was cool, to be able to grow up riding motorcycles and snowmobiles, you know. I didn't have any of that, but my friends outside town did. So it was cool. You ride your bike a couple miles over the hills to get to somebody's house and do those things. That was kind of cool. We did a lot of traveling, which was neat. We camped in 1971 from New York to California and back. So we went through the south down through Texas on the way to California, and went through the north on the way back up through Wyoming. So, and again, that's a thing that I didn't think was unusual, but you know, a lot of people don't get to experience that and travel the whole country. That was pretty neat. We did a lot of that. We went to Thousand Islands in Canada and New York. Went to Boston a lot because my grandparents were from there, so always traveling. Quite a bit of camping. That was kind of neat. Which is cool, you know. We didn't have a lot of money, but it was neat to just be able to do that. We camped, like I said, it was 5 weeks going from New York to California and back in a '68 Impala with no air conditioning and a little pop-up trailer. So the whole trip, 5-6 hours a day in the car. Where are we going? Is it a campsite? Do they have a pool? That was all we wanted to know all day long. They have a pool? Are you sure they have a pool? Well, we have a creek. Okay, great. We'll swim in that. So, you know, it was neat growing up without money, but still having, you know, plenty of cool things to do. Finding a way. And that was good for us too. When I got married, we didn't always have money, but we always had, you know, a way to do things. Yeah, my mom was a piano teacher, so we always had a piano in the house. She taught piano, but I don't remember that. That was before we moved to New York, so I was 6 at the time, but I know she had students come to the house, so maybe that was when I was really young. But we had this, moved to New York and had this big, huge living room with a grand piano in it. So that was intriguing to a kid, so I wanted to learn piano. So I tried to do that with my mom, but that never works. It never worked for me, trying to teach my kids. I have lots of students whose parents try to teach them, and it just doesn't work. You don't get a regular thing. It's too easy to put it off. You just, you know, you try to sit down and like at a certain day, and it's just like, well, no, we'll do it tomorrow. And then as the kid, you think, you know, all I have to do is sit down here with my parent and play, and you don't put in practice time. It's just, you know, one-to-one time, so that it just doesn't work that way. But I guess in 2nd grade, I started taking piano lessons for a couple of years. And then guitar, and then drums. My older daughter, Erin, who I didn't get to name her Drew or Melody, tried out the flute and, you know, played some music, maybe some other things a little bit, and didn't really take to that, but took to the art. And I was an art major for a while in school, and so that's kind of neat. She got that part. The younger daughter hasn't really played around with art at all, but is a great violinist. Taught her some drums, taught her a little piano, and my sister taught her some piano. Against Brielle's will, she didn't want to do that. She just, every time she went to the house, no, you got to sit down and we're going to do some piano. Like, okay. So that was neat. That she picked it up and has that, because that's, every musician should play some piano, so it's nice that you have that background, and it's cool, and everybody needs one in the house. So that was neat, but she always had an interest. I mean, you can see from the picture that as a baby she wanted to sit at the piano, and I worked with her a little bit, and just to get her interest, and, you know, play whatever, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, probably just, you know, she took to, all little kids do though, they all take to piano and drums particularly, but, you know, you play an instrument, a little kid wants to play the instrument, but she kept doing it. There's pictures of my 2 girls, one playing the piano and the other dancing, and not the one that actually ended up playing any music, but she's the older one sitting there playing piano. Not playing piano, banging on the piano, but that's great. Here we are, let's just make some sound, and, you know, kids love that, so it's cool to start with that. But unfortunately, you have to go out and pay for lessons. Nobody can't teach your own kids usually. I teach my instrument professionally, so my bass player and I have a studio. So we got, you know, 6 to 10 teachers teaching various instruments. So I run that, but, you know, pretty much just teach and play drums. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to do something that you love for a living, and especially when you're sharing it with other people in 2 ways. I get to entertain people and, you know, keep people happy, especially during a bad economy. People have something to enjoy and be entertained by. And then, you know, to be able to pass it on to kids and even adults. We got a lot of adult students, but just to have, you know, have somebody else learn to play and have the joy of that, it's pretty fulfilling. So I'm living the dream. The end.